call this meeting to order, the regular meeting, special meeting, rescheduled meeting, Town Planning and Zoning Commission for Thursday, July 19th. First item on the agenda will be the minutes of June 28th. Have a motion for approval?
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any corrections, omissions, deletions? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Chair votes aye. Next item is the returning to a public hearing that was tabled continued from our last meeting. It's a request by Robert E. Lodge for special permit for landscaping construction company on 100 Old Paquonic Road. Have a motion to reopen the hearing, please.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Let us proceed. Mr. Alford, I assume you're representing the applicant.
I'm representing the applicant.
Excuse me just 1 minute, please. Just for the information of everybody who's not attended one of our meetings before, the public hearing will be conducted with a presentation by the applicant, report from the town planner. We'll then have questions from the audience. We'll have questions from the commission. We'll go back to the audience for comments from the commission, and we'll give the applicant one last chance to wrap up any loose ends. Having dispensed with that, Mr. Alford, the stage is yours.
You gonna do it? All right. Hold on a second.
What happened at the end of the last meeting? Did you guys?
It's a good question. I think we approve it.
Yeah, the record.
Because we didn't get no notice on it.
Did you have, is yours, I think it was HDMI 1.
HDMI 1?
Yeah, but, yeah, is your
You got
computer,
a minute to get there, right?
oh no, I thought I saw Dell. Is that your computer Dell?
Oh, it's me, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know why it's not seeing the slideshow.
I know the screen isn't a Dell, but.
I could, all right.
He gets
I
it.
gotta start a slideshow then, from the beginning. How's that, better?
Yeah.
There we go.
All right. For the record, Wilson Alford Jr., registered professional engineer and land surveyor in Windsor, here on behalf of Rob Lodge, who's the applicant. The property is at 100 Old Paquonic Road. As we're looking at it, the property is in this area.
And we quoted this like we did this last time.
An Old Paquonic Road running sort of diagonally up to Windsor, or to Paquonic. We're here to request a contractor's yard. The property here is outlined in black. Most closer detail of it partly is across the street, and this is what the property looks like here. This is the plan of development. The Old Paquonic Road again is on your left. There's some wetlands over to the right, and the property slopes down to the east. We're looking at a building which is in the front. The building will be served by a septic system and city water. For storm drainage, there's some green, they're highlighted here. They're basically recharge basins. They're small stormwater catchment basins that have infiltrators at the bottom of them. The water will go into the basins, and then the infiltrators will put it into the ground. The rear of the property are storage bins and these areas, and so and there's parking for customers at the front. It is, and I think that we discussed that the hours are generally from 7 o'clock in the morning? 6:30 in the morning during the summer till basically till twilight. There could be Saturday morning, and there'd be nothing on Sunday. During the winter, it is a snow plowing operation, so there could be people there at all hours of the day, because it depends on when it snows. So, are there any questions?
Yeah, we'll get to those.
Okay.
Mr. Guiner?
I think we went over this last month. The only new news to report,
is that this was heard by the Wetlands Commission on Monday, and I believe approved. with conditions, so we have the green light to act as you wish.
Any questions from the audience? Hearing none, let's run down the commission. Who's at the end? Mr. Merrill?
Jose, would any of the wetlands conditions impact anything that we're seeing tonight?
No, I think they're all pretty much the same site plan.
And is there anything about wetlands that we need to incorporate into our conditions?
I've got a standard condition that this application is subject to additional conditions that are filed separately for the Wetlands Commission. So
Okay.
that refers, whoever looks at that one will refer to the wetlands and conditions also. But I don't believe there's anything that requires anything but maybe minor.
If we have to do it for the Wetlands Commission, we have to do it for the Wetlands Commission.
Well, yeah, I just want to make sure that we incorporate
I think that they
anything.
asked that we add one pipe, and that was it.
But I think that's all in the catch-all conditions that I put there.
And other than that, they were the general, normal conditions.
Now, I was flipping through. Are you adding additional screening to the property to the north?
I think that was one of Jose's concerns, that there'd be some screening that would be added there. And we haven't added anything to the drawing, but
There was some trees, I believe, and if you look at the landscape plan, that there was some.
Some additional arborvitae?
But I think the only thing I wanted to add, do you have the landscaping plan up there?
I don't have the landscape.
There are trees that are shown along the northern boundaries, the line of evergreens. My condition was that they actually add something to the plan that indicates there's a 25-foot buffer. So it's that whoever constructs it, if in the future someone's looking at it, knows that there's a 25-foot buffer.
And in that buffer, there's going to be some screening trees?
Right, there are some screening trees. Let me. Actually, I got a large section here. There is a landscape sheet that shows the trees that are proposed for that area.
As long as it's shown on the plan, that's really my only point.
They are shown. I think the landscaping, where the trees are going, are shown up. Oops, sorry. Let me bring it around to you. Along the corner of the residential right here. So they're showing, what I was asking for is that a 20-foot, sells a 20-foot side yard, that the line you put on the map that would indicate there's a 25-foot buffer. So the trees are going up in here. If you look at that screen, there's 16, I think they're
16 giant.
Yes.
Giant arborvitae.
Yes, green giant arborvitae.
Okay, and that's-
So, and there's a fence also going there.
And that's where the residence is?
Residence right here, it's properties, residential properties.
Good, thank you.
You can see the residence.
So,
Right here, the
Yes.
screening is proposed for this area here.
Okay, thank you.
Ms. Reed?
Oh, I have none.
Mr. Ford? No questions. Mr. Lester?
No.
Jacobs?
No questions.
Mr. Gillette?
No questions.
Just one question. This area that we're talking about in screening, isn't that heavy wetlands back in there?
No, the wetlands are further to the,
Oh, yeah, okay, yes, right. Okay, no,
I put
you
the
went from the
other,
little one to the big one. You my
I should stay with
spatial.
one.
Let's see. All right, so there could possibly at some point, someone might want to put something in there. Okay, thank you. Any comments from the audience? Last chance. Hearing none. Mr. Gillette, any statements?
No statements.
Mr. Jacobs?
No, I think we went through everything last month, and it sounds like everything's been appropriately completed. I don't think quite any reason why we shouldn't go ahead.
Mr. Lister?
I agree.
Mr. Ford?
No, I think it's a good use of this industrially zoned property, and as long as the arborvitae's are there to screen off the residential, I think it's good.
Ms. Reed? Mr. Mara?
I agree.
I guess I agree too. My only concern was that neighboring house. Any last words? Mr. Alford?
Oh, you mean in response to the positive comments? No. I agree with the commission.
Thank you. We appreciate it. All right, motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
Second, moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we're back on the agenda with the matter of Robert Lodge for a plan and special permit. What's the commission's pleasure? Have a motion?
I'll move to make a motion to approve the request by Robert E. Lodge for a site plan and special permit to allow landscape and construction company, including outside storage, at 100 Old Paquonic Road in an I-2 zone. The approval will be granted subject to conformance with the reference plans, as may hereafter be required to be modified. The representations made on the record and the conditions set forth in Mr. Geiner's memo dated July 11, 2018.
Have a second? Second. Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Chair votes aye.
Thank you very much.
Good luck. The next item on the agenda is a request by the Town of Bloomfield Board of Education, which also requires a public hearing. I'll ask the secretary to please read the notice of the public hearing.
Is it on here?
This isn't continued, is, oh, yeah, I'm sorry, this was continued, yes. We opened and closed it last week. Motion to reopen the hearing?
So moved.
Have a second? Moved and seconded, all those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, we're back on, same rules apply. Who's here to present for the town? For the Board of Education, I should say.
Excuse me, Chairman, but I need to abstain from this because of the fact that that property backs upon our property.
Well, I wasn't aware of that. Yeah, I think you should.
Yes, I was here before, you said I...
Okay, for the record, Ms. Reed is recusing herself from this hearing.
Do we have enough?
Gentlemen.
Good evening. My name is Wayne Casper. I'm Director of Facilities for the Bloomfield Schools. The project we are proposing is 2 solar arrays which would produce 1.62 megawatts of electricity. Each array consisting of approximately 2,940 panels. The purpose of the project is power generated from the solar system would be 60% of it would be purchased by the Board of Education. The other 40% would be sold to residents within the town of Bloomfield. We had a property evaluation conducted by the firm Curran Fazio, and in order to determine the best use of the property, and their findings were that the best practical use because of the wetlands was solar field. So with that, for the technical parts of the project, I'm going to turn it over to Brandon with All Points Engineering.
Thank you. So it's Bradley Parsons. I'm a licensed professional engineer in the state of Connecticut. As Wayne mentioned, it's a proposed community solar project at the existing Board of Ed facilities located at 1133 Blue Hills Avenue. You can see on the screen here behind me, there's the existing conditions map. It's approximately a 22-acre parcel. It currently houses the Board of Ed offices. It's tax map 179, block 2, lot 14. To the north is some undeveloped woods land, as well as the First Cathedral Church. To the east, we'll find residential properties. The south is the social services facilities, additional undeveloped woods, and agricultural hayfield and additional residential properties, and again, residential properties to the west. The project's proposing a just under 1 megawatt solar arrays. The facility will be behind the existing Board of Ed facility and in the existing hayfield. That hayfield has been classified as a wet meadow. Majority of it is wetlands, and we are currently with the Wetlands Commission for review of the project as well. In order to keep the permitting local too, this project has been divided into two 1 megawatt arrays, and as a result, we are splitting the lot into 3 lots. So what we'll have is 3 lots in the parcel. Lot number 1 here will house the Board of Ed facilities and one of the solar arrays. Lot number 2 will have the electrical facilities and the interconnection, and then lot number 3 will also have the additional array. Lots number 1 and 2 will have frontage on Blue Hills Avenue, and lot number 3 will have frontage on School Street. Since we are here for a special permit, we've gone through the zoning regulations and have looked at the conditions of approval. Based on this being a suitable location, the Board of Ed has done their due diligence, looked at all of their properties throughout the town to understand where solar could be used. This was, as Wayne identified, a ideal candidate for the solar project. Appropriate improvement, as a result of it being an existing cleared hayfield, there will be no tree clearing required for the installation of the project. There's not going to be any lightings, any buildings, or any additional pavement as well as a result of this project. Suitable transportation, there's already an existing facility there with existing driveway accesses that will be used as well during construction and during maintenance of the facility itself. Again, being that it's an unmanned solar facility, there are no public utilities required for the project. And then just to kind of talk a little bit more about the drainage and kind of ultimate use of the project here as we kind of go into the environmental protection and conservation. Since the hayfield's flat, no clearing is required. We're not changing the cover type. So from a drainage standpoint, we really have no change in runoff from the site at all. So there's no stormwater features required as part of the project either. And as a result, while some of the project, good majority of the project is located in wetlands, we have gone through and minimized that impact to, permanent impact to 604 square feet, plus or minus, with additional temporary impacts for the electrical utility trench, serving both arrays, and that runs down the west side of both arrays along the south and then out to Blue Hills Avenue to the existing 3-phase service out in the street. Again, the facility has also been designed or proposed to be constructed with truck matting being used in the wetlands to minimize permanent impacts or damage to any of the existing hayfield. And then additionally, the southern portion of the site has been maintained open for the possible potential walking trail that has been thought about through the site as well, to the pond in the on the west. Long-term viability, the project will provide through Clean Energy Collective, will provide the Board of Ed with clean power for a 20-year lease period, which I believe has an additional 5 optional years to be added on after that, at which time additional panels could be installed, or the project could ultimately go through a decommissioning phase as well. As far as meeting with the town's plan of conservation and development, this project definitely meets the requirement of 8.29, purchasing 20% of town power from renewable clean energy sources. And as Wayne mentioned, the Board of Ed will be the anchor tenant and is able to take 60% of the overall power from the site through the grant. The other 40% is split between Town of Bloomfield residents and low to moderate income residents. So really what that provides is, folks who live in town or can't either afford to have solar or rent and therefore can't put solar on their house that they don't own. This provides those individuals with the opportunity who still want to provide clean environment and have clean power to be able to purchase that power as well. And with that, I will open it up to...
And we'll get to questions later.
Yeah.
Anything else, Mr. Casper? Mr. Guyer?
You have a memo, again, just sort of a caveat, this was before wetlands on Monday, but I believe, was the hearing closed or no?
The hearing, I don't believe it was not closed, it was continued.
But it was continued, so it will,
Yeah, we won't be able to vote.
you won't be able to vote on it, you might be able to close, I think you need to close the hearing unless you get an extension, because it's been 30 days, it'll be more than 30 days to our next meeting, so if you so choose, you can close the hearing and pending comments from the Wetlands Commission. All the law says you have to get a report before you vote, not before you close the hearing. But and as long as you mention it on the record, that whatever comments they bring will be part of the record, and I'll modify my proposed conditions accordingly. So the only real, what I call odd thing about this project is really the splitting up into 3 lots, and it's not a subdivision. But and as I mentioned in my memo, like state law, municipal, for municipal purposes, that's one of the exclusions in the subdivision definition in the state statutes. So they don't need to come in for subdivision, but they do have to come in for special permit for the use on there. I talked with our engineering department this afternoon. I think any concerns they had have been met by the applicant. I think there's one little item that they wanted.
Yeah, and I apologize, I didn't end up mentioning that. The engineering department requested the addition of a rain garden. While we aren't actually adding any pervious surface, they did look to see if we could help to mitigate some of the existing runoff on site. So we are proposing a rain garden between 2 parking areas that will handle a majority of the sheet flow from the existing parking lot.
Other than that, everything, they're very satisfied with the work, the layout and the plan.
Any questions from the audience? All right, questions from the commission? Mr. Mara?
I have a couple. Is there any screening? I'm looking through the map here, but maybe you can point out. Is there any screening around the arrays, or are they just going to be out in the field?
They're just going to be out in the field. I mean, we will have a fence around them.
But no visual?
No visual screening. Our thought process behind this is we're really not doing any clearing on the site itself. It's set back from the road behind the building, really bordered in a majority by woods, and even there's like a decent tree / brush line along the south as well.
What's the life of one of these arrays? Are they going to have to be replaced over this 20-year period?
So to kind of answer that, and Jeff, feel free from CTEC and feel free to jump in, but usually the panels have a lifespan of 20 to 25 years, which is kind of where the lease terms come from. After that, it's not that the panels can't still produce power, they're just not as efficient. So at that point in time, the panels could be replaced and upgraded to newer technology. The panel sizes really aren't changing. And the existing racking system that's in place now could be reused, or the site itself could be decommissioned.
Okay. And the owner of this facility is going to be the town?
No, the owner of the facility will be Clean Energy Collective, and they will be owning and maintaining the facility and selling the power back to the town as part of the virtual net metering with energy credits, and I can let Wayne speak a little bit more to that if required.
Okay. Okay. This is subject to the renewable energy credits, and they go to the town or to the company?
Yeah, go ahead.
I don't know that that's a zoning issue, but
Jeff Pipeling with CTEC Solar. This is actually not part of the renewable energy credit program. This is a bid that we had won for the town. An RFP was put out 3 years ago, I think, at this point. And in the process of 3 years, things have changed a lot. We actually applied for the first community solar pilot bid from DEEP, which doesn't require a REC. That's a direct bid that we won from DEEP for this project to be one of the first community solar projects in Connecticut.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Ford?
Just a couple of questions. What's the height of these panels from the ground up?
I believe these ones are about 10 feet on the backside. They end up being about 2 feet and at a 25-degree tilt, so the backside's around 10 feet high.
And they're all tilted facing south?
Yep, everything's facing south, and I believe these are at a tilt of 25 degrees.
Okay, so what's the impact of, for properties or houses around them? Is there any impact?
I mean, we really didn't see any impact to any abutting, residences. I mean, we're kind of set back, again, screened by the existing woods that are out there now. We're, again, not clearing any vegetation from the site. So we felt that everything's functioning as it does today. The existing drainage patterns will be maintained. There's no stormwater runoff impacts as a result of the project. The existing meadow will continue to grow underneath as well.
Okay. Well, how do you service these panels?
So usually when they're installed, I mean, the service at that point in time after construction is really limited to any issues with the inverters, if I'm correct, Jeff. If there's any issues with that, those are usually will end up being post-mounted along the edge of the arrays. It's something somebody would just walk into usually and service those. I mean, they're not very large units at that point in time. The switchgear and electrical equipment, to point it out a little bit, will be outside of the compound itself for both units and against the existing pavement that's there today. So there will be drivable access up to the proposed electrical equipment and switchgear where things may need to be shut off to service the overall unit.
So will there be like a loop road around the
Nope.
arrays?
No, it'll just be maintained as grass because after construction, there's really no vehicular accesses that should be required.
Also, if one breaks or something like that, you wouldn't have to drive a truck in to...
No, and we will, I see us having to work through a detailed O&M plan, especially due to the wetlands, to understand what even seasonal mowing restrictions out there as well, so.
Okay, one other question. How does where you say that people can buy this electricity, that's the electricity that's left over from whatever the school doesn't use?
Yep.
How does somebody buy it?
Yeah, so I think, and Wayne, you might want to speak to that because you probably have a little better information.
The way that process works is it would be the same as the way the Board of Ed would buy it. The project or the system is owned by Clean Energy Collective or CEC. We enter into an agreement with them to buy this power generated at a total of 14 cents per, just over 14 cents per kilowatt hour. The benefit is Eversource credits the bill to the Board of Ed just over 16 cents per kilowatt hour. So we're getting a 2 cents per kilowatt hour credit on an electric bill for every kilowatt that we are buying of solar. That same process would apply to any resident buying the power. They would buy it, enter into an agreement with CEC, purchase the power from CEC, get a rebate or a credit back from Eversource.
Okay.
Mr. Lester?
That's good.
Yeah, no, I was actually interested in the process too, of how that 40% would be, how people would access that, and that's been answered, so I'm okay.
Mr. Jacobs?
I know there's no screening or what happens if children get in this area and start playing with these things?
You didn't point it out, but each array will have a fence around it. The fence will sit 6 inches off the ground and will be at least 5 feet high?
6.
6 feet high.
Okay, children can get around 6 feet, so what happens when children get around and start playing with these things?
Who's in Hartford?
I just want to know what happens if kids get around and start playing with them, that's all. 6 feet, kids get around 6 feet, no problem.
We have the same ground mounts in the back of people's houses without fences on them, and animals go under them, and so do children, and, I mean...
Okay, but you're not answering my question. What happens when kids get around and start playing with it? Is it safe?
Can you touch a panel?
Yeah,
Yes.
that's all I want to know.
Yes, if the question is, can you touch a panel without being electrocuted, 100% completely.
Okay,
It's
so they
completely
start playing
safe.
with the panels, is it safe?
I would say if they start pulling on the wires and start, like...
How safe is this? What's the history of these panels being safe?
The panels themselves are very safe. It's all self-contained. There's nothing in the panels itself. Everything comes out. There's just electrical contacts. It's wired up. That wiring is usually inside a conduit or interduct along the racking itself out to the inner.
Is there any past history of any issues with panels being a problem with children playing with them? That's probably, if I could give it more specific.
And even these encased conduits in the back of each panel, if somebody was to go up there and pull one out, it would just stop that panel from working. There'd be no spark, there's no type of, it would just completely disconnect that panel.
So if that happens, is there notification by your organization that there's an issue with one of these panels? And is there any sort of...
The system is monitored 24/7.
It is...
Yes, so if the panel, for whatever reason, stops functioning, they get a notification that there's a problem on the system, and someone comes out to inspect it.
Yeah, so what we do is we install computer monitoring. The computer monitoring actually can identify strings. So strings of panels, not every individual one, but like every 13 to 17 panels will be identified, and if something goes out on that one string, we would get alerted, and we'd have to come out, or whoever's doing the O&M, immediately, because of course that's also income from the system going down.
And so in your documentation with the town, it states all of this, that these are relatively safe, that we're not going to be the town is not going to be liable for children or people, there's some contractual things here that I'm thinking about, of if the town is going to be held liable if anyone gets electrocuted by these things.
No, we've already established a lease agreement with Clean Energy Collective that was vetted by the Board of Ed's attorneys, Shipman and Goodwin. The lease is a 20-year lease. All of that has already been through the town council for their approval because of the length of the lease.
So the lease actually does cover liability insurance. The system itself is not the liability of the town. That's correct. Within the lease agreement, that actually specifies that.
All right, very
So
good.
all liability is covered by CEC, who owns the system and has entered into a lease with the town.
Okay, so one other thing, I might be a little bit slower than these guys, so if you could just be patient with me on one little explanation, because I didn't get it. How do you sell this back to somebody across town? I just didn't get it. I live in another part of town far away, that you're going to sell me electricity that's 3 miles away. I don't get it.
The way it works is the power generated from the solar system is just sent out to the electrical grid, but it's metered. So Clean Energy Collective and Eversource are both metering how much power is being generated by the solar system and pushed out into the grid. Clean Energy Collective becomes a wholesaler, or a retailer really, of the power. Just as you could now go and buy your electricity, the generation portion of your electricity from any retail provider, you would do the same with Clean Energy Collective. You would contract with them to provide your
So I'm basically getting it from Eversource, but they're saying that we're contracting this amount of electricity from you.
Yeah, they get...
Can we just be simple about it?
Well, you're giving it
Yes,
a discount.
it's like that, but with the way it works is you're going to have a fixed rate for as long as you enter into an agreement. So if you enter into an agreement and say, okay, I'm going to live here for
Okay, so
10
let me just
years.
simplify something else. I'm buying electricity from Eversource. It's costing me more than 14 cents.
Oh yeah, I guarantee it's costing you more than 14 cents. Right now, the Board of Ed is paying roughly 21 cents per kilowatt
All right,
hour.
that's the number I was looking for. All right, thank you. I'm finished.
Mr. Millette?
Could you explain a little bit of you said that there was a minimum square foot impact, and I'm guessing this is, could you explain how the panels are mounted into the ground?
Yeah, so the panels are mounted into the ground on a simple I-beam. It's a post-driven I-beam into the soil. So the soil is acting as basically the foundation for the racking system. So additionally, you've got the fence posts and some of the inverter posts that are holding other things up. So really, when you look at those items with, a fence post being this small and the square footage of an I-beam itself being, less than half a foot or around half a foot, your overall impacts when you look at the site from a permanent standpoint are very minimal. We do have temporary impacts as far as digging the actual electrical trench itself. So we are going to be disturbing some soil in that regards. The plan with that, though, is that we will be having truck mats on either side of the soil, and I can bring up the plans here.
So I think before you threw out a number, was it like 600 feet total of like what was taking up?
It was like about 604 square feet total of what we call permanent impacts.
For both arrays?
For both arrays,
okay.
Correct, for the total project. And just to kind of show here on the screen, you can see we actually have a proposed detail for the electrical trench in a sense that the contractor will have to drive on truck matting, be digging down the center and actually putting spoils on that truck matting, so.
And just to kind of take from one of the questions Mr. Jacobs had on the electricity, where are the inverters for this? How close to the panels are they? Or are they?
They're at the end of it. They're usually located at the end of every row. So you end up having an inverter at the end of every row of panels, and that runs into the conduit into the ground and back out to the electrical equipment.
That's the only potential where there's AC power.
Nope, that's still DC power. It stays DC power all the way out to the electrical transformer and switchgear.
So that's where it turns to AC.
That's where it will turn to AC power and then head back out to the grid. And that's all that stuff is underground.
All right, so the risk for electrocution is not
I mean,
really
it's the same transformer that's on the side of a street for any underground URD development as far as even residential goes. It's the same type of equipment.
Thank you.
Yep.
The central aisle that you show, that's going to remain unpaved.
Yep, that will remain unpaved as well.
What happens if you have a service call in the middle of January thaw, and you've got about a foot of mud out there or saturated soil? How do you get out there?
If it gets to the point where, I think that's where we're going to have to talk about, the O&M plan a little bit, and they may have to have truck mats to be able to get out there if they actually needed to get a truck out there.
Okay. Is there any noise factor? Is there a hum from these things at all? Or?
Don't believe so. I mean, we've done, on some other projects, done noise studies, and it's really non-existent.
I haven't heard one at Seabury.
Pardon?
I don't hear it at Seabury.
I didn't realize they were operational. Are they operational already?
As far as I know, they are.
Well, you're pretty far from there, though.
Yeah, but I drive by it several times a day.
Okay. Again, just so I have this concept in mind here, Eversource is generating some humongous amount of power, which has got to vary millisecond by millisecond because things are being turned on, turned off.
Yep.
So I've got to assume that at some point they have a surplus. I've never understood what happens, what they do with that surplus.
There's technically never a surplus.
Okay.
Things
shut down.
Yes, so things shut down, things turn off, you more get that,
I always have this picture in my mind of giant storage batteries.
Exactly, and ideally, if we were in a complete solar world, that would be required because when the sun goes down, we still need power. But it's, they've got peaking generation units that they can turn on and off for that, and that's really how they, regulate their overall electrical use.
And the electricity they collect from you, they're getting it cheaper than they can produce it, and they shut as yours comes in, they shut something down.
Yeah.
There's
ISO New England up in Massachusetts handles all that fun stuff.
Okay, and I would imagine with computers, it's facilitated all of this It's like an oil pipeline, actually, now that I think about it.
Yeah.
Anything else from anyone? Any comments from the audience? Again, as I said before, last chance, yes, in the back. Please step up to the podium, identify yourself for the record.
It's official.
She was a troublemaker.
I remember ACDC drives, yeah, I understand that, that makes sense.
Tracy Natal, 47 Farmstead Circle. Just a quick question, because this is new to me. Just hearing about this. So the question is, has there been any studies to any effects around the neighborhood that this would cause? As far as any type of impact to the neighborhood? I know you're building behind the Board of Ed. There's that big open field.
Right.
So what about because there's a couple of homes right in the front of there, on the right-hand side. There's a couple of homes over there, and there's apartments near there. So would there be any impact, as like he's saying, noise or any, so all this is underground, underground?
Yep, I mean, the solar panels themselves are above ground.
Right. But all the work and everything
all
will
the
be
work,
handled?
and as we mentioned too, there is no clearing in regards to the project.
Okay. Thank you.
Not a problem.
Any other comments? Thank you. Comments from the commission? Oh, again, go to the right now. Mr. Millette.
No comments.
Mr.
No comments.
Mr. Lester.
No comments.
Mr. Ford.
No comments.
Mr. Merritt.
No comment.
Well, from my point of view, it looks like a win-win situation for the town, and I hope that, pending if the commission votes so, that we're in good shape. Move to close, I'm sorry, do you have any last words?
No, thank you for your time.
Move to close the public hearing?
Move to close.
Moved and seconded, all those in favor?
Could you repeat who did that?
I do. Who made the motion,
I make the motion to close it.
and who seconded it? Steve. Thank you. We're back on the agenda with a request by the Town of Bloomfield Board of Education, site plan and special permit to allow a community solar facility at 1133 Blue Hills Avenue in the R15 zone. How does the commission?
Right now, we're looking for a motion to table.
Oh, right, I'm sorry, yes, this was not approved. It wasn't.
So,
I'll move.
Forgot that little detail. Sorry.
It's a nice try.
I will move to table this matter until the next meeting.
Second?
I second it.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion?
Just one question for Mr. Banner. That keeps us within our statutory time limits, right? If we table it,
right, actually, the statutory time limits, once Wetlands has it, get extended to 35 days after Wetlands decision.
so we don't have to ask for any sort of agreement from the applicant?
No, just as long as on the record, we noted we're waiting for Wetlands comments.
Okay.
So, we're good.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Chair votes aye. See you next month.
Thank you, everybody.
Okay. The next item on the agenda is a request by Andrew Hoy, Powerhouse Auto Works LLC, for a special permit to allow auto repair and used car sales at 78 Granby Street in the I-1 zone. This also requires a public hearing. I'll ask the secretary to please read the notice of the hearing.
Legal notice published July 6th and July 13th in the Hartford Current. Notice is hereby given that the Town Planning and Zoning Commission will conduct public hearings at a meeting on July 19th, 2018, commencing at 7 p.m. at Bloomfield Town Hall, 800 Bloomfield Ave, to consider the following. Request by Andrew Huh, Powerhouse Auto Works LLC owner, RKS Realty LLC, co-owner Richard and Kathleen Suska, for a special permit to allow auto repair and used car sales at 78 Granby Street in the I-1 zone.
Did we see this before? Did we see this before? I don't think so.
No. Unless you would wetlands. Well, maybe we did already,
This is the old fire stuff.
Again, a public hearing will follow the same ground rules that we did on the other public hearings. Floor is yours. Please identify yourself for the record.
Hello, everybody. My name's Andrew Hoy, owner of Powerhouse Auto Works.
Could you move the mic a little closer or speak up a little, please?
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you now, yes.
Okay. But, yeah, I'm currently operating out of 31 Toby Road, which is kind of in the back of a building. I've been doing okay, but I think moving to a main road will help me out a lot with used car sales, and that's pretty much what I'm here for.
That's it?
Yeah, I mean, my lease is up on my old place. I found a new place, and I think it'll do good there.
Okay, Mr. Geiner.
Mr. Gardner's coming back.
I didn't realize he left. Sorry about that.
You have my memo that
Yep.
if you look at the plot plan that was there, they're not proposing any changes. The one concern that we have on staff about the existing site is that if you look at the aerial, it looks like there's been the previous user looked like it sort of led onto mostly to the north. So that well-defined paved parking area is no longer that well-defined, and there's actual some cars and material to the north in an area, and it looks like it goes all the way back to Charter Avenue, which was supposed to have been a 3-foot wide level spreader and some drainage structures there. So one of the things that I asked for in my conditions is that the site be restored to the approved site plan. And whether or not the commission wishes to require an as-built from, to document what's out there, but it's we did approve this for the, what was it, Tire,
Unlimited.
Tires Unlimited, a while back, back in '08. So, there is a proposed condition that the site be restored. We were sort of waffling back and forth.
What will it take to restore it?
Well, I'm sorry, that's not a good picture. We have we had a color for it, it would be much easier to show you. It stands out a lot more. To the north part, it almost looks like there's a let me hold this one up over here and show you. It looks like there's a bunch of cars over here, and looks like that area has been cleared out over time. So there is some encroachment, and it looks from the aerial also that there's storage going on all the way back out onto Charter Avenue and probably crossing over Charter Avenue to some extent. If you look at the first sheet of my memo,
Yep.
you can see there's some encroachment both to the north of the line of the property line, and also to the east.
Oh, yeah.
So if in fact that's happened, I don't know what's happened to the drainage structures. I just want to make sure that the site plan gets, that the site conforms. I don't know if the adjacent property owner realizes that there's been encroachment or not, but it probably never goes back there anyway. So there's a lot of wetlands over there. What needs to be restored basically is this plan. We need to go out there and make sure that the plan is, that what we approved, what the commission approved back in 2008 is in fact what is out there, and it doesn't appear from the aerials and inspection out there that that's the case right now.
I'm sorry, I didn't have my microphone on, so hope you took good notes.
You're the one that has to transcribe it. So. Any questions from the audience? Anybody? All right, let's go down. Let's start with you this time, Mr. Millette. Go the other way.
Do you have any concerns with restoring it back to the property lines and fixing, the encroachments?
I don't know what's going on with that. I talked to the realtor, and he thought it was a mistake somewhere. I don't know what's going on with that.
Again, the aerial photographs show clearly, those that were taken in 2016. I mean, I couldn't go out there, and I don't have, my eyes are not surveyors, but it appears from the aerial photographs that the encroachments of the storage area go beyond the property lines to the east and also to the north. And so all we're asking is that it get restored. That there be some kind of pullback in that area, either planted or, on anything that's not on this property. And it could be, you could be the landlord, I don't know who's responsible, again.
Yeah, I would have to
the
talk
site, the site has to be in conformance with the approved plans.
Okay.
And we have an approved plan on file, so it's just making sure that whatever's there is what is actually on the ground.
Is that an enforcement issue?
It would be, but I think now we have a condition of approval, they're asking to do something else, and I did put that as a condition of approval. So it would be going out there and inspecting it with our engineers and making sure, and we'd be happy to provide guidance, I mean, to go out there with you and show you what needs to be done in accordance to the plan, but...
Yeah, I'm willing to do anything it takes to correct the issue.
But,
Can't be approved as is.
no, there's a condition of approval that says,
In his memo.
restore it.
So this is just an aerial photo. How old is this? I mean, is it,
2016.
so do we know if it's currently an issue, or?
Has anybody been out there?
Yeah,
I don't know if our
because
engineers-
I think, isn't the tire place, is it currently operating? I think it sounded like your
Yeah.
biggest concern was just the drainage to charter.
Right, and that's why I put it as a condition. We weren't exact, and you can go out and take a look, and it wasn't clear from view.
Do you have a photo of what we're looking at? Do you know what we're looking at?
No, I don't.
I think I showed it to you on the screen when we were,
I just didn't want it. You see these cars here?
I have
yeah,
no
let me,
Yeah, these cars, and this is your property lines. So you see these cars are over the property line. So they look like they're storage cars that are over the property line. So those have to be moved.
Currently, there's no vehicle.
There's no vehicle.
right, but there's a cleared area there, so,
Yeah,
and there was, and I think the concern is that it just makes sure it's...
So that's what he's talking about.
Okay.
All right?
Yeah, I mean, it's not a huge concern, I think, if they maintain it the way it's supposed to be.
Okay.
Could it have been on that particular day, these cars was there when they took their
It
photo?
looks like the area was, I'd say, but it looks like it was
Let's
cleared.
not get into a rush
Let me just,
He just looks so lost.
My question was answered, though, thank you.
Mr. Jacobs,
I have no questions.
Mr. Lester,
No.
it's tough to see from this area.
Mr. Forrest?
It's covered.
No questions.
Ms. Reed?
So I guess if he goes back out there with the, someone who, I guess, planning and zoning, show exactly what's going on and get it cleared.
Well, we were just discussing the cars in the back that showed up in previous photographs in the back there. They have to be clear if they're still there.
They're still there,
It's still
right.
there.
Mr. Mara?
Unfortunately, I think I got a couple.
It's not unfortunate. We value your opinion.
You're taking over, Firestone was in that place before, or?
No, it's Tires International.
So you're going to take over their building, their bays, the existing infrastructure?
Yes.
You're going to use that. How many bays do you have?
I have 3 lifts and 3.
Okay, and what kind of repairs are you going to do?
All maintenance and services.
So just general?
General repair, yeah.
Okay. Are you going to, and you're also going to sell cars?
Yes.
And you have provision for a bunch of display, 8 display places for parking. Sorry. 8 display places for parking, and those will be occupied more or less permanently by a car in those places.
Yeah, I've been running for about a year, and the most I've had is about 6 cars so far.
Okay. Other than those cars, which I assume will stay outside overnight, are any other cars going to be parked overnight on the premises?
No.
So if there's work in progress, that's going to be inside in
Yes,
space?
inside the building, yeah.
Okay, do you have any outside lighting?
Yes, there's a bunch of lights across the whole building.
And so there's existing lighting, are you going to add any?
No, I'm not adding anything, no.
Okay, and what about signage?
No, there's no front signage,
Are
no.
you going to have one?
Not right now.
Will you return, if a sign permit is required, you understand
Yes.
you may have to come back to it?
Yes, I know that.
Okay. Outside storage of not just cars or work in progress, but what about materials, tires, car parts, anything else?
Everything stays inside.
So it may be,
nothing.
it may be moved around on the site while you're working on it, but at the end of the day, it's all put
It's all
back
inside, yeah. Sorry.
Okay. The oil fluids from cars, how do you contain those and get them off the site?
We have a company, Safety Clean, that picks up our junk oil and coolant and stuff like that.
And how often is that taken away?
It's usually once a month.
Okay. Okay. And Jose, this use is consistent with prior uses, but it is also consistent with the plan of conservation and development?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
That area, and I have a better color photograph if anybody wants to. I mean, it's the same thing, but it shows the encroachment a little bit clearer when you look at it in color, so.
Okay. Thank you.
I just have one question.
Sure, go ahead, Mr. Wood.
Tires International gone already?
Yeah, they've been gone.
That's been closed for a while.
Is that it?
Is there a for sale sign up in front of this building?
Yes.
Okay.
I assume that the previous owner has all the usual hazardous materials, safeguards in place, and separators for oil,
Yeah.
and they're in operable condition, or you will have to bring them, your permit for motor vehicles will require all of that anyway, won't it?
Yes.
As we do.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And, no, I don't want to get into a brownfields discussion at all. All right, any comments from the audience? Okay, comments from the commission, Mr. Maron.
I think it's a good reuse and a consistent reuse of an existing site, with minimal changes. I think it's good use.
I concur.
Ms. Reed?
I concur.
Good, thank you. Mr. Wood?
I think it's good use as well, and it seems as though we're restoring Granby Street to what it used to be, because there's still about 5 vacant properties on Granby Street. And it is the enterprise zone for Bloomfield, so, you know, it's good to get these properties occupied.
Mr. Lester?
No, I agree. I think it's an excellent use, and it's good to get something in there.
Mr. Jacobs?
I agree. I think it's good to have some property owners there working the property and taking care of them. So, good job.
Mr. Willett?
Completely agree with the rest of the commission.
So does the chair at this point. Any final words, sir?
Nope, I'm all set.
Motion to close the public hearing?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
And seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Chair votes aye.
Thank you.
We're back on the agenda with this item for, I'm sorry, I'm reading the wrong one here. It's for 78 Granby Street. What is the commission's pleasure? Mr. Lester, are you going to?
Yes.
Good.
I make a motion that we approve the request by Andrew Hoy, Powerhouse Auto Works LLC owner, RKS Realtor LLC, co-owner Richard and Kathleen Suska, for a special permit to allow auto repair and used car sales at 78 Granby Street in the I-1 zone. This approval is granted subject to conformance with the submitted plans as may be required to be modified, the representations made on the record, and the following conditions. All the comments and conditions made in the town planner's memo dated July 8th, 2018.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion?
Is the memo dated July 11th?
July 11th, 2018.
That correction? Can the motion be made to correct the date for the memo?
Oh, I didn't hear the date you mentioned.
No, he said July 11th, 2018.
I thought I heard July 8th.
No, 2018, July 11th, 2018.
Sorry about that.
Oh, that's
Okay.
okay.
Anyone else? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Chair votes aye. Congratulations. Next item is a application for a special permit to allow a 26-unit condominium apartment complex at the rear of 122 Blue Hills Avenue. Before we move on with this, I'd like to get a sense from the commission. This application at Wetlands resulted in about a 3.5 hour public hearing Monday night. Wetlands did not approve, and it was tabled to a future meeting. I'd just like to get a feeling from the commission, do we want to go ahead with a public hearing that would probably be just as long? Although I have no way of knowing that, but there is that possibility, without being able to vote on it, and then not passing Wetlands and going through all that effort without the approval. Do we want to open the hearing and table it to our next meeting, subsequent to Wetlands approval and subsequent to all the time constraints? And I'd just like some input from the commission.
So if we heard it tonight, and they'd have to go back to Wetlands, we'd have to hear it again.
No, we wouldn't have to hear it again. We can hear it tonight.
Right.
And if we vote to approve subject to Wetlands, we can. But what I'm saying is that we might do that, and then Wetlands might not approve it. And I really don't want to keep everyone here for 3 hours. If Wetlands turns it down, we can't hear it. Well, we can hear it, but it's a waste of time because we can't do anything with it.
Right.
And I don't want to go through another 3-hour session if it's going to be fruitless.
You can't vote on it tonight. You couldn't approve it subject to Wetlands.
No.
You could hear the... You could hear it, and you could either continue the hearing or close the hearing subject.
Exactly.
My understanding is Wetlands closed the hearing?
No.
That's what I heard.
At that point, I was so groggy, I don't know what they did.
According to Peter, I don't know, I wasn't there, but
I thought it was tabled.
That's all I thought.
but I thought they...
I don't think they closed the public hearing.
No, I didn't think they had.
What? Oh, they didn't.
I thought Peter said,
I'm sorry.
and they tabled the decision, so the hearing is
tabled the
closed, and the decision is tabled.
So the Wetlands approval could contain conditions or order changes to the plan.
Possibly, we don't know.
We don't
have
know.
no way of knowing. If we go through with it tonight and we then table subject to Wetlands and Wetlands imposes conditions that change what we hear tonight, then we would have to probably reopen the public hearing to readmit that information or we'd have to go through some legal gymnastics to get that back into our public hearing.
Why even hear it?
Well, that's what I'm asking. That's what I'm asking. I'm perfectly willing to go ahead if that's the sense of the commission.
Are we under time constraints to
Well,
open?
that would be
No,
my
this is
question.
the first opening, so we're a little early.
We would be, well, no, we're going to go 5 weeks now, not...
Have you opened it? Yeah, we're going, let me just quickly check something.
Our next meeting is when?
Next meeting is the 23rd, so I think you're within the 35-day time.
Today is the, what,
7, 14, 21,
18th?
21,
19th,
28,
that'll be 34.
7, I don't see.
This is the first 31 would be the,
14, 21.
I think we'd be right on the money.
21, 28. Yeah, you'll be fine. 35 days would be the 23rd, so you're fine. I mean, the hearing's technically open, so you got to open the hearing. We legal noticed it, so.
Well, yeah, I would do that, open the hearing tonight and then move to...
So the 35 days would get you right to the 23rd.
So the choices before this commission at this point, well, first of all, we're going to open the public hearing. At that point, we either proceed with the public hearing with the prospect of being here till 11:30, listen to it all, and then having wetlands turn it down, and we've gone through that exercise for nothing.
No.
And the other flip side would be to then table the public hearing, continue the public hearing to our next meeting, and then pick up pending wetlands action. So the sense of the commission, can then proceed, and discuss it. So, well, let me do it this way. Who wants to go ahead with the public hearing tonight? Can I have a show of hands, please?
And I know we're never going to do anything for that.
Mr. Chairman?
There must be a baseball game on. Does anyone? And who would look to open the public hearing and then table, or continue it to our next meeting? Another show of hands, please. I think it would be obvious at this point. All right, and I'll ask the secretary to read the notice of the public hearing, please.
Legal notice published in the Hartford Courant July 6th and July 13th. Notice is hereby given that the Town Planning and Zoning Commission will conduct public hearings at a meeting on July 19th, 2018, commencing at 7 p.m. at Bloomfield Town Hall, 800 Bloomfield Ave, to consider the following. Request by Rocky Hill Enterprises Incorporation, care of Ben Dejan, for a special permit to allow a 26-unit condominium/apartment development at the rear of 1122 Blue Hills Ave in a PLR zone.
Okay, pending all the discussion that we just went through, I have a motion to continue this public hearing until next meeting.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Jacobs, seconded by
Second.
by Mr. Ford. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Chair votes aye.
Made the motion? I'm sorry.
And Abe second.
And Abe seconded. I understand there are a lot of people here for that project, and I think we may have saved everybody a lot of time. We'll see what happens at the next wetlands meeting, and then proceed from there. Thank you for your interest, and as I said, there may be a good ball game on tonight, so you get home in time to see it.
Not yet.
Pardon?
They're still off from the All-Star. Or is it they back today? I don't know.
The next item is a request by Maurice Pipkin, Blue Hills Associates, for a special permit modifications to increase the number of cars allowable at an existing dealer in the repair service at 919 Blue Hills Avenue in the GWB zone. Who is here to make that presentation? Will you please take the conversations outside?
Information about the condo stuff.
Yes, sir, please identify yourself for the record.
Yes, Maurice Pipkin.
No. For public hearing?
No, I'm sorry. Oh, yeah. I think so.
I'm sorry, there is a public hearing for this.
Yes.
I beg your pardon. Please read the...
Maurice Pipkin.
It's been a bad week. Mr. Lester, would you please read the notice of the public hearing?
Legal notice published July 6th and July 13th in the Hartford Courant. Notice is hereby given that the Town Planning and Zoning Commission will conduct a public hearing at a meeting on July 19th, 2018, commencing at 7 p.m. at Bloomfield Town Hall, 800 Bloomfield Ave, to consider the following. Request by Maurice Pipkin, owner Blue Hills Associates, LLC, for a special permit modification to increase the number of cars allowed at an existing dealer and repair service at 919 Blue Hills Ave in a GWB zone.
Thank you. I think we all know the ground rules by now, so please identify yourself for the record.
Yes, Maurice Pipkin, 919 Blue Hills Avenue, Integrity Auto Sales. I'm here to increase the number of cars that I can have for sale. I guess in 1962, they had it where it was only allowed to have 3 cars for sale, and I believe the owner can have like 2 cars I didn't see much of customers parking or anything, or storage. So I wanted to add that into the site plan that I turned in to the zoning manager.
That's it?
That's it.
Mr. Leonard?
Right, this property, well, you do have my memo that sort of gives the history. It's in the Gateway District, which allows automotive uses by special permit. However, they discourage new automotive service uses in that zone. Now you have surrounding land use. There is, I think, an automotive service use to the north, a cemetery across the street, a Dunkin' Donuts to the south, and I believe there's a house of worship run by the applicant. I believe there's also the pastor there to the west. And also, it's bordering along the southern part of the southerly borders that 8-acre parcel used to be the drive-in movie theater, which Eversource has been using to stage, I guess, their line repair for the last year or so. The property's also, when Mr. Pipkin acquired it, was subject to some enforcement action by Mike Casella because they were storing too many cars in accordance, exceeding the limits established by the previous approval. To my knowledge, I don't think the previous, I don't think there was any intervening approvals on the property other than one you see. The last one that you have on there is from 1965, which at that time repairs licenses were under the CBAs and special permit. Since then, it's been part of the zoning regulations to make it under the purview of the Planning and Zoning Commission. So the last notation there says that, as explained, only 3 cars may be displayed on southerly side, and there were a lot more being displayed, and Mike went out and issued a cease and desist. Mr. Pipkin came in and applied for a permit to, that's where we basically are right now, applied for a permit to increase that number, that limitation by the commission.
Thank you. Any questions from the audience? Yes, Mr. Suggs. Please identify yourself for the record, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My name is Joe Suggs. Excuse me, I live at 10 Sandpiper Drive. The town planner indicated that the applicant had received a cease and desist for not complying with the current site plan. Question I have is the applicant currently in compliance, and has he obeyed the cease and desist?
Mr. Guiner?
According to Mike Casella, when he's been out there, he hasn't seen more than the 3 cars that the approval required. So that was as of last time I spoke to him, probably early this week, or and I don't know, I can't tell you for sure when the last time he was out there, but I know he's been out there looking at it quite often because we've been getting complaints. So every time we get a complaint, he goes out and takes a look, and he hasn't seen anything more than what the approval required.
Thank you. And if I may, Mr. Chairman, a second question would be, as I understand the regulations for the Gateway District under 4.5B, bulk requirements, excuse me, that's C, there is no parking permitted within 25 feet of the front yard line. And the question that I have is I have 2 questions. Are the cars that are currently parked there for sale 25 feet back from the frontage line? And if this commission were to permit an expansion of parking, would those additional cars be required to be parked at least 25 feet from the front yard line?
The answer to that is the site is non-conforming. With respect, there are no changes to the park, to the layout or the pavement on there. So Any existing nonconformity is allowed to, is grandfathered in, so if they're not providing any more, and I don't see how they could, because it's paved right up to the front property line. So as long as, a property does not make it more nonconforming, they're allowed, they're grandfathered into whatever existing nonconformities there are. So, yeah, obviously there's pavement, I would say, almost completely, to both front, both on both streets. So the answer is they're allowed to park within the existing nonconformity. The question is whether or not the commission wants to allow more cars to be parked, but whether they're allowed, they stay with the same amount of cars to the south, they would still be allowed to park those 3 cars to wherever the paved areas are right now.
So they would be allowed to park any future additional vehicles within the minimum front yard line?
That is correct. The way the laws of nonconformity apply is that as long as they do not increase the degree of nonconformity, it is by physically moving. It's the same thing as if you had a house that was too close to the front line. You could sell it, somebody can move in and still live in it. They're grandfathered with respect to that nonconformity. Now, they couldn't put another addition on there or increase it, increase the nonconformity, but again, if there were grass in the front and they were trying to pave it closer to the line, they would not be allowed to do that. But there is pavement completely to the property lines. That's since I assume it was there since 1962, but and actually, I think at one time there might have been a connection to the south also. There was some encroachment to on where Dunkin' Donuts was.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Any other questions? Please.
Rhonda Gasky, 172 Blue Hills Avenue. My question is, with all the parking issues that is going on, is there causing any problems for the town? Because I ride by this establishment every day. There don't seem to be a problem. I don't understand. Dunkin' Donuts is a business. We have a gas station next door that is a business. Cars go in and out. They're parked certain places. So this is a good business for the community. So I'm not understanding basically what the issue is, and if it's causing any problems, what is the problem? If it's not causing any problem, why bring it up here? Because this issue has been going on, and this is something from 1965, and we're in 2018.
Well, for one thing, the applicant is requesting a change in what he's allowed to do there.
Okay.
So that's why it's here, for that reason. Whether or not the town has a problem, I don't think we can answer that unless you have some reports, Jose, that from either the police or whatever traffic authority is.
No, I know we've got a lot of neighborhood complaints about it.
Yes.
So that's why it was brought to our attention that he was exceeding the number of cars that he was.
How many neighbors complaining, and what was the complaints?
I believe some are maybe here tonight. We haven't finished the public hearing, but the association, I know we do have a letter also, don't we, Mr. Chairman?
Well, I have a letter, but I think it's just a private individual.
Well, representing the neighbors, or his association, I believe.
It's actually not signed.
Okay.
I'm sorry, it is signed by an individual, no reference to the association.
Okay. I could tell you specifically the names, and Mr. Casella probably would, because he's the one who's been dealing with it. He's the zoning enforcement officer.
Right. I'm just saying that I know here, and there's a few of us here, we don't have any complaints,
Okay.
and we stand by this this business. And since the business has been here, and I've been one of the customers of the business, we're good.
Just the questions now, you'll have a chance to make a statement.
Okay, thank you.
Want to just get through anything else? Any other questions? All right, let's move to the commission. Mr. Merrill, questions?
I just want to be clear, the only thing you're looking to change is the number of cars you can have for sale.
Correct.
Are you adding any parking spaces, moving any parking spaces?
Yeah, on the north side, there was always parking there, but I don't see it inside of the plan, the old plan, where the customers parking, because they didn't have anywhere for the customers to park. But it's on the north side where the restroom is. I added, I wanted to have the 7 cars for customers parking.
Okay, so as you're looking at the building on the plan, the 7 customer spaces to the right.
To the right.
Are going to be come and go customer.
Correct.
Spots. Are the other spaces that are depicted on the plan presently existing?
No, the only thing we have now is just the 3 that's on the south side. They want us to put the 3 cars for sale on the south side of the building, which is facing it on the left side, over by the bushes where you actually can't even see the cars. If you're coming down the road, you can't see them.
Okay. Because you have 3 spaces on the right front of the building, kind of on the corner of the lot.
Right, that's the curve.
Are those there now?
No.
Okay. You got 3 spaces right in the front, you got 5 spaces right in the front of the building.
Mm-hmm.
Are those there now?
No cars are there, no.
Okay, and then you've got 2 spaces to the left-hand side of the building, and those are the ones you were talking about before?
Right.
Okay. Are these spaces marked on the pavement? Are they striped?
No.
Are they going to be striped?
Yes, so that we can place the cars in the right spot, the rightful places.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Ms. Reed?
Yes, you have the, looking at the diagram, this was like a gas station before?
Correct.
Now, these pumps, do they remain there, or they removed, or?
What I did is to beautify the area, because I couldn't remove them, I covered them. So, because a lot of people, when we first moved there, people were still pulling up thinking that we still sell gas.
Yes.
So what we did is we just covered them, and then we just put the business logo on the front of the containers.
And that street, that's beside that car wash place?
Maplewood Avenue, yes.
Maplewood, okay, all right. And you have enough room, as you see it, to have as much as you?
Yes.
Now, you're leasing this, or is this you own it?
I leased that.
You lease it. So according to the owner, so if you're leasing, there's an owner.
Yes, yes.
So the owner, he doesn't mind?
He's in favor of it.
Oh, he's in favor of it?
Yes.
So why is the owner coming here? Why isn't, I'm just wondering, what I'm trying to say is that you're leasing this, and you have an owner this is his property.
Yes.
Now, couldn't he come back and seize this thing, seize the thing and hear you out of it? I mean, how long is your lease?
My lease is 5 years.
5 years. So you just starting your lease?
Yes, I'm just started. And, I mean, they're good people. I mean, we own the building actually behind the service station, which is 7 Maplewood Avenue. And then our church is at number 9.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's what I was wondering. Because I thought to myself, what you're trying to do, and somebody else is the owner,
right?
He can come by and say,
No.
you're out. This is my, this is what I was wondering.
No, I understand. No.
Okay, all right.
No, he's in Florida.
Okay.
Yeah.
That it?
That's it.
Mr. Ford?
So, you say you own, there's 2 buildings behind?
Yes.
Okay, there's a church, and what's in the other building?
Nothing is there right now.
Okay, nothing is there. Is it your intent over time to buy this property?
Yes.
The gas station?
Yes.
I mean, the old gas station?
That's what we're working on.
Okay.
But that's why we need to up it for more cars, because since we only have 3 cars to the south side that you can't see, the business have been extremely slow.
So now the 3 cars that you have on the south side, those are where over right near where you have the two spaces?
Yeah, over there in the
So
corner.
they're just kind of one behind the other? They're 1, 2, 3?
Right. Well, it's side by side.
Side by side now?
Yes.
Okay, so you want to line them up against the property line?
Correct.
Those two over there. Now, the 3 that you have in front are right on the sidewalk, or right up next to the sidewalk.
Yeah, well, what I did is, when we placed the car there, we wanted to see how much space it was, so it's not covering the sidewalk.
Not
It's
on the
further back.
sidewalk.
Yeah, it's a little bit, well, it's got some spaces back from
You
it.
think that's a good place to put a used car for sale? Right up close to the sidewalk, like that?
Yes.
Okay. All right, the seven repair spaces that you have in the back. Obviously, these are for folks that have their cars recommended to be repaired, and then once they're repaired, they take the cars out. So now, would cars be left here overnight?
What we've been doing lately, if it's say for instance, if it's a high-end car or whatever, it's inside of the garage, because we can place 1, 2, 3, 4, we get 4 inside.
4 inside.
Yeah, because of the lifts, we just bring one car and lift it up and put it under, and then we put the others in. But the other ones that, that has like a motor problem or something like that, it's outside. And they'll work on it the next day or the day after.
So do you store any parts outside?
No.
What about security? What about security?
Anything else?
What about security?
I have cameras all the way around the building, and then we have a gate on one side.
No.
Okay.
Who's asking that?
I was asking about, I'm so sorry.
You couldn't look.
I'm
What's your hours of operation?
We open from 8 in the morning to 6 in the evening. And sometime if we're doing paperwork, because we register cars there, we're licensed through DMV, so we give you your registration, your tags, everything there. So sometime we stay over late, doing paperwork. So sometime we'll leave at 7 o'clock.
And that's Monday through, what, Saturday?
Yeah, Monday through Saturday.
Monday through Saturday.
Yeah.
And Sunday you're not open?
No, Sunday I'm at church.
Okay. Okay, well, the island that you have over here on the right, on the north side, the island is partially on your property and partially not. Where you have the 3 cars parked over here diagonally on the right.
Yes.
So you take care of that island, all right?
Yes. We put mulch there, and the gentleman that sells the flowers, he's supposed to be putting some flowers over there for us.
Okay, no further questions.
Mr. Lester?
Yeah, just a quick one. The original agreement had you only to display 3 cars, and how many were you displaying when you start getting complaints?
When I first got there, it was a gentleman that I let use the space, and he had probably a total of like 8, 9 cars.
Okay.
There. And then when I took over, probably like what, 6, 7 months now? 6 months? Yeah, 6 months now. And then when we were getting the complaints from the town, then we just leveled it off to 3 cars. And then when we sell one, then we replace it and put another one in its space.
Okay. Thank you.
Jacobs?
I have no questions.
Mr. Lett?
I guess the question I have is, in the memo, it talks about new automotive services and the plan for the district. This isn't necessarily new, but an expansion.
Well, it's a new, it's not a new, in terms of use, it doesn't matter the user. Once you establish the use and it's grandfathered and the approval goes with the land, not with the user. So you could have 10 different operators and it's not considered a new use.
But the approval was, that went with the land was for the 3.
This is to, yeah, this is
obviously to modify the approval, to allow additional cars to be parked on the property.
And we didn't know how recent the most recent complaint was?
We get on it, I mean, Mike would be able to tell you more, but we're constantly getting complaints, and Mike goes out there and investigates them, and lately he's coming back and said, as far as he can see, they've complied. He's asked people who've complained if they see more to take pictures and submit them to him. As of last week, he told me no one has submitted any pictures.
Okay.
I mean, obviously can't be there all the time.
Sure.
So if there's a lot of cars there on a weekend or on a Sunday or something,
Is there other...
He's told people, take pictures and I'll be happy to do something.
Besides this property, has there been other similar complaints with other businesses?
In that area?
Yes.
Not that I know of. Just trying to think. No, I mean, not in this area.
Okay, thank you.
I got one more
Sure,
question.
go ahead.
One more question. On your site plan, up in the, on the south side of the property, you've got a rectangular box up here?
Yes.
At the top, what is that?
It's a storage container.
That's there all the time?
Yeah.
And what are you keeping there?
We just keep like our tools. We have some tools. We have a tire balancer that we keep inside there, but it's locked.
Okay.
You mentioned at one point, you said "we" in reference to the church with this application. Is this property, is the lease arrangement with the church or with you personally?
With me personally.
All right. On Sundays, is this property used for parking for the church?
No, sir. We park it over at the church.
Well, I remember that was an issue when you came in
Right.
for approval of the church. I just wondered if you had any overflow.
No, we don't park over.
And I have no further questions. Any comments from the audience? No one? Well, Mr. Suggs, I'm sorry. I was blinded by the light from your pen.
Thank you again, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission. My name is Joe Suggs. I live at 10 Sandpiper Drive. Members of the commission, you know far better than I that this gateway district was designed to restrict the number and the level of automobile-related activities in that area, in part because it abuts and interacts with several residential areas. And in fact, the regulation states specifically that new automobile uses should be discouraged because of traffic and the general detrimental effect on residential neighborhoods. That's in your regulations. Secondly, this particular application would be more egregious than if it were a brand new application, because it, as the planner has indicated, rather than having the cars set back away from the sidewalk and away from the street, these cars, not only the 3 that are permitted now, but as many as he would be permitted by any approval, can be parked right next to the sidewalk where they are currently parked. Currently, the cars that are for sale are within a foot or 2 of the sidewalk. And again, because they're grandfathered in, the planner has indicated that that's acceptable. But now, if additional cars are permitted, they too could be parked very close to the sidewalk. And I, for one, don't think that that is something that we should have in that area when we're trying to enhance the look and the town feel of that area. And finally, Mr. Chairman and members of the commission, and another part of this Gateway District says specifically that only after a finding of need demonstrated to the commission shall new automotive service uses be permitted. And so that says to me that it is incumbent and the burden of proof is on the applicant to demonstrate that there is a significant need in order for the commission to approve this. And I would suggest to you that the applicant has not demonstrated that there is any need for additional used car sales in that area. As this commission well knows, because it approved another used car use on Granby Street, I believe, at the last meeting, there are numerous opportunities for residents of Bloomfield and other communities to buy used cars in Bloomfield. Several of them are within less than 1 mile of this particular location. And so I don't believe that there is a need, and no evidence has been presented to this commission that there is a need. And so for those reasons, Mr. Chairman and members of the commission, I respectfully request that you deny the application. Thank you.
Anybody else?
Yes. Hold on, I got, yes.
You'll have a chance to,
Okay.
at the end.
All right.
I'm sorry, you had two women at once. Somebody flip a coin.
And please identify again to the record.
Yes.
Again, my name is Saronda Gasky, 172 Blue Hills Avenue. Like anything else that we do in life, I feel that there is a need for automotive place to be there, use auto sale services. It's convenient for people who are on the highway. Like I said, I'm one of the customers. I'm very pleased and I'm happy. It's a friendly service in the community. It's great there, approving the cars to be seen. I walk by several times. I'm there every Tuesday walking in the area on the sidewalk. There's no issue. I can walk the sidewalks with the cars there. However, you really cannot see the cars when you're walking the sidewalks. The sidewalk you have to go past from distance, and if you're driving, it's like when you get further up going towards the light on Cottage Grove Road, and you sort of have to look back to see what's there. But again, I don't see an issue in the area, and we welcome Integrity Autos in this area. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Lizette Cruz. I'm 103 Bushnell Street. I'm not a resident of Bloomfield, but I shop in this area. I've worked in public transportation for over 15 years. And I would like to start off by saying it's nice to see this area, as you guys stated, even on Granby Street, to rebuild, to see all these businesses open again and seeing life once again coming to a lot of these areas. I use public transportation very often. I also have private, but I prefer to ride the buses. And I walk by these areas all the time. I'm never hindered by any of the vehicles. Everything is always kept neat, well in place. No rowdiness in the area. You see plenty of people. Mr. Pipkin is very friendly with everyone. So he may have a lot of traffic coming in and out, but it's more of people just coming to see him. I also have family that purchase vehicles from this facility. So I mean, to encourage it to expand a little within its limits, because he's not looking to rebuild, he's just looking to expand a little. I feel that it should be approved, not just for anyone else, but for the town of Bloomfield, because it brings more to the town and not less. Thank you.
Anybody else? All right, move to the commission. Mr. Mara?
I mean, I note here that we're not being asked to establish a use, we're being asked to modify a long existing automotive use. One of the criteria for establishing a special permit use is the suitability of the location. But I think that's already been decided for us back in 1965, and I'm not sure the later acted gateway regs can affect that, because the use sticks and stays with the land. I think if we go to approve this, though, I think the motion ought to include that the spaces be striped and maintained as striped on the parking lot, so that they're established and they can't really be modified by use at that point. Oh, it's an interesting application.
I think that the gentleman explained very clearly how the setup is, and as long and also what Mr. Morrow had said in reference to getting those places striped, so you could see exactly where the vehicles are. Because sometimes it's kind of difficult to imagine certain things if you can't see it. I mean, I see it on here, but you see, I've been over there to the car wash, and I remember seeing the place over there. Did it say tires and something and repairs?
Tire repairs.
Yes, he did. Says tires. I thought to myself, I wonder what that is. Tires and repairs. Because I remember it was before it was a gas station.
Yes.
But I used to go over there, So I just couldn't imagine seeing this. This is so well organized on here, and then to see the tires and repairs, and I just could not imagine all this being there. But I guess once you get it set up, the stripes and everything, so people could know, so you know where to park and make it look neat, definitely make it look neat,
Yes.
So that's all I got to say about that.
Thank you. Mr. Ford?
Okay. For as long as I've known this particular piece of property, it's been a gas station, it's been a service station. My father used to get his cars fixed there when it was the Sunoco way back. And I don't have a problem with the use that you're trying to put here. I would hope that you would try. You said that the pumps are still there, and you're trying to get rid of the pumps.
Yes.
I would hope that you could achieve that and move those cars away from the sidewalk. And I think that's for your benefit, as well as just the appearance of the property. Cars right up on the sidewalk doesn't do too much as far as the appearance of the property. But as long as you keep it clean, keep all the stuff inside, I don't have a problem with it.
Thank you.
Mr. Lester?
In listening to both sides of this, I can see where a case can be made either way. However, I think it's a reasonable request. I think it's a fairly good use of existing property. I mean, you're already selling cars there now. I would really struggle in kind of like stunting the growth or the potential growth that you may have. I mean, I think we all try to encourage small businesses to grow. I look at your business as a small business. So I agree with some of the comments made in terms of arranging the parking and making it a little bit better of a display. And like one of the commissioners said, in somewhat of a permanent way where, there's no confusion there. But I don't have a problem with the request. You already got 3 cars there. Having an opportunity to grow the business, I think is always a good thing.
Thank you.
After hearing everything, I in trying to weigh out what complaints you've had and trying to understand where those complaints are coming from and understanding what those issues were, listening to a couple of audience members here, and understanding what a place like that would look like if it grows beyond what expectations are. I don't know if it's going to look as pleasing to the eye as people drive by there and saying, okay, it's a gas station that kind of went out of business and has a wrap around the pumps, and to me it sounds like it doesn't look like it's going to look very pleasing. It looks like a rundown gas station, and then you have cars out front and they're kind of used. It looks like to me, my first impression, it doesn't look like, and it's a gateway to Bloomfield. It doesn't seem like the first impression I want to see driving into Bloomfield. So I probably have a little bit more of a problem with it than some of the others. And then putting more cars out there, and I understand the positives of it, of an entrepreneur trying to build a business for himself. I have a little bit of a problem with that because I'm an entrepreneur and I want to see a business grow. But I also see the problem of seeing a business not looking really appealing. So, it's a tough one for me. I'll be honest with you. So I'm trying to convince myself how could I make this happen without a really good argument of saying I'm really going to make this look great. I haven't heard that, and it sounds like it's going to make it more crowded and not as appealing. So that's where I'm having a problem with this one. So I'm just undecided at this point. So I'll wait to hear your final comments.
Mr. Millett.
I'm wondering how much the difference, just thinking to myself, there would be in the amount of usage or between what's being proposed in the gas station. I definitely agree if this was moved forward. I'd love to have the condition for the spaces to be well defined, with the striping. I do have a little bit of the concern about it's obviously looks like a reused gas station. Anything that could help just increase the aesthetics, and that might address maybe some of the prompting for potential complaints. Thank you.
Thank you. Jose, before I make some comments, the owner, this Boston Corporation, do they also own the old drive-in?
Yes, they do.
So this
They own a number of properties around on Maplewood.
Okay, so this would have been the driveway to that proposed shopping center back there at some point?
Not necessarily. They could. They got plenty of frontage on Blue Hills Avenue south of
that's true.
Of Dunkin' Donuts, and I think the previous plan did not utilize this property. I think they have done some land purchase more towards the western side of Maplewood. I think they own all the lots down there.
Yep.
And with the intent, I think, at one time to come out onto Douglas, sort of have two ways in and out of that property. But I don't think this was one of them, at least not on any plans I saw.
All right, before I make some comments, I received a letter dated July 16th, 2018, from Mr. Charles Griggs, who I assume lives he says he lives in the neighborhood, so I'm sure he does. I don't want to read the letter itself. I will cite some of the high points, which is very obvious because in his first sentence he says this letter is a no to the special permit modification to increase the number of vehicles at 919 Blue Hills Avenue. It goes on to cite a number of instances of his personal observations of the site, some comments on ecological problems that might be incurred by additional cars, and also included the copies of the cease and desist orders that have been issued for the site, and a copy of the original 1962 approval and a copy of the 1965 modification. And I'm going to give those to Mr. Geiner to include in the record of the hearing. And if it's a very positive no, a very strong no vote from a member of the neighbor of the site. So, and,
Did he put his address down?
no, he does not have his address on
It's,
it.
I think it's on the envelope.
Is it on the envelope?
I believe so.
I never looked at that. Mr. Guino was at 14 Mayfair Court.
Mr. Griggs.
Mr. Griggs. Mr. Guino has an office down the hall. Sorry. Yes, Mr. Griggs. Well, it's almost the same. You both begin with a G, so
It's true.
that's probably what confused me. I sort of go along with Mr. Jacobs. Wavering back and forth. The genesis of the Gateway District probably goes back to an application some time ago for a pizza restaurant, a chain pizza joint somewhere on Blue Hills Avenue. I've forgotten exactly where it was. And people came out to that public hearing because they're very upset over the commercialization of Blue Hills Avenue, which unfortunately, because it's an arterial road, comes right out of Hartford. That's what we have on the majority of Blue Hills Avenue is commercial. And out of that grew the Gateway District. And I'm surprised, I would have thought that someone, we used to have, at every one of our meetings, we had 3 representatives of the Gateway District, attended every meeting of this commission. I've been on this commission since 1991, and I think they finally stopped coming somewhere around 2005, 2006. They stopped showing up at the meetings. And I would have liked to have heard their views on it. And I understand it's a very personal feeling that everybody has, and it doesn't lend itself to an easy decision. So, in accordance with some of the comments that were made here, you have the last word, and we'd certainly like to hear you address some of the comments that were brought up that might help some of us towards a decision.
Okay. Well, since I've been there since last year, as you know, the old Sunoco was abandoned for some years, and it needed a lot of work there. Once our church was in the back, I was always selling cars for different dealerships and working for different dealerships, and that always been my passion to have my own dealership one day. And this opportunity came about, and once it came about, I signed a lease with the owner of the property, and I began to start working on it because, like you were saying about it's looking like, it's like it's abandoned really. If you added more cars, it would still look that way. Well, if you go by there now to look at it from when we first had it, we painted the whole top, we painted the whole building. We even painted alongside of the building the curbs. We did the curbs. We made sure that along the back we chopped down all the trees, the bushes, even on the back side over where Dunkin' Donuts side is, where you go in through the back of our side. There were trees hanging over there. We chopped those down. We got rid of that. We cleaned out all of the rubbish that was there. Even the building, if you're coming down Blue Hills Avenue and you look over to the right side of the building, where our building is, that building, you've seen it, it was like the paint was peeling. So now we had straight the paint. Now we're painting that. We have the lighting that was there originally. We kind of like polished those up. So we're getting ready so that we can, put the sign up there so that people will know that we are there. It's hard as a small business because, I started the business with no money. I didn't have any money. I just had one car. And I sold one car and I kept selling one car. And that's what I was using that money to finance the business that I have. And I bought everything myself. I never went to a bank. I didn't get a loan from a bank, and took that to fix up the place. And I know we talked about the gas pumps, and it costs money to remove those. So what I'm doing is I'm trying to work and save enough money so that I can remove them myself. I know the owner, he probably would, say, well, it's going to cost all this, you're going to have to be responsible, and I understand that. That's what happened when you're in business for yourself. Even with the striping that you were talking about, we have those inside of the plan. once that we are approved for it, we will put the striping down. And I guarantee you, and I promise you, the place wouldn't look abandoned. When you drive down Blue Hills Avenue, we're going to make sure that it's beautified. Everybody that works there, we provided jobs for people. I even have a gentleman that's here now. He purchased a car from us, and he ended up coming by from time to time, and he helping us out. So we provided jobs for people. We provide service for even people that's in the community. People come by, they have flat tires. Sometimes their cars are broke down inside their driveway at their home. And my brother-in-law, he works with me. I send him right inside of a vehicle. He goes there and take care of them. We don't charge them extra for that. We just charge them for the tire or whatever. And we do that. We provide a service. I don't know what we would do as a group inside of our business, because there's a group of us that's there, if we can't be in business. You know, we're trying to bring it back, and we're trying to do the right thing. And that's all I'm asking is for you guys to help me so that I can help the community. That's all I'm just trying to do.
Thank you.
Yes.
Motion to close the public hearing?
Motion.
So
Second? Okay, I think it's Ms. Reed and Mr. Ford, in that order. We're back on the agenda, and the matter before us is the application of Maurice Pipkin for the property at 919 Blue Hills Avenue. Commission's pleasure. Have a motion? Somebody.
I'll make a motion. I'll make a motion to approve the request by Maurice Pipkin, owner Blue Hills Associates LLC, for a special permit modification to increase the number of cars allowed in an existing dealer with a repair service at 919 Blue Hills Avenue in the GWB zone. In accordance with the plans that have been submitted and discussed tonight, with representations made on the record tonight, and such plans as may be required to be modified, and also with the other special condition that the parking spaces depicted on the plans be depicted on the site with either striping or parking stops, so the parking places are recognizable on the site. And subject to the further conditions of approval as set forth in Mr. Geiner's memo dated July 11, 2018.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion?
Yeah, I share some of the concerns that were discussed. I think it's a sort of intensive use of the parking. I also think it's a good reuse of an abandoned building. I agree it's a difficult call, but I think we're also somewhat constrained because we have an existing permitted use that's on the site. So this may not be a site that would be approved for this use had it been proposed as a new site. But I'm not sure we can turn away from the existing approved use by virtue of the gateway regulations.
Okay. Anybody else?
Second. We need a second?
Anybody? No, we have a second.
Oh, who made the second? I'm sorry, I missed it.
Barbara.
Okay.
Well, I think, no.
Quiet, so.
It was Barbara and Abe. I don't know which one came
Barbara made
first.
the second.
Barbara
Right, I know.
seconded Abe.
Dan made the motion.
Oh, Dan made the motion, Barbara
Barbara
seconded.
seconded.
So, further discussion? All right, I think I'd like a show of hands on this, rather than a voice vote. All those in favor, please raise your hand. 5. I guess I didn't need a show of hands. Chair will vote yes also. Motion passes.
Amen.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Mr. Geiner, do you have anything for us?
We have a Section 8-24 referral
Oh,
that we need to
So I'm so busy looking at the public hearings, I we'll get back to the original,
Almost forgot last time.
yeah, we did, I did the same thing last time, you're right. I don't like these 824s.
Yeah, you got my memo, this is a piece of property that's, this is a piece of property that's part of our connectivity plan. I think we're in the process, not just getting to Vince that one lot which borders the Winterbury Golf Course, but also looking at adjacent properties down the road to provide some kind of trail system from the reservoirs to the down through the CLMP and then around the golf course. I had the distinct pleasure of actually bushwhacking with the trail committee through reeds, actually surrounding the whole golf course one summer, which I will not do ever again. It was hot, humid, and I don't think my leg, yeah, and I don't think my leg would ever allow me to do it. But there is, you know, a plan to sort of put together some trail system in that area, and this would be a useful piece, I think. Again, subject to we're going to be doing phase 1 at our cost, and if that goes through.
How big is this property?
This was not that one lot.
Oh, okay.
It's 3.6 acres.
Thank you. Also, you have a superfluous side in that last sentence. If you look at the last 3 words.
Pardon?
The last 3 words are, you said golf course on the side, south side.
Oh, I'm on the north side, I'm sorry.
Well, but you have 2 sides in there, so I don't know.
It's at a north and west. I mean, and there's actually trails going through there if you look at an aerial.
Now, I'm looking at the agenda. Item 8, second line, Woodbury Hills Golf Course on the side, south side.
Oh.
You got the same thing inside.
Not that it matters.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
Okay.
The south side, I'm sorry that, I wasn't sure what you were meant.
Yeah, I understand.
It is on the south side. It's south of Winterbury's Golf Course. Yeah.
Email.
This is on the south side of the golf course?
Yes.
Yeah, as you come up you're coming up Terry Plains.
Come on, Terry Plains?
Yeah. It's right there.
There's it's up on a ridge top. There's a CLMP.
Must be up by the...
CLMP right away also goes through
Must be
there.
up by the 5th hole. That must be up here.
Oh, okay.
That's one part of the 5th hole.
Now,
Yeah.
he's donating this property?
Oh, yes.
If that's the
It must be a great tax write-off.
It's really not accessible. It's
Oh, the short one.
from unless you extended that there is no frontage anywhere. So I guess you could build a subdivision road in there if everybody got together. But it's not really, right now it's not accessible by road. There's some trails.
Yeah.
There's existing trails through there.
Okay. Well, my personal opinion would be anybody who wants to donate land to the town, I say we take it. I don't know about anybody else, but...
So I agree.
Do we need a formal vote?
Yes, it's an 8-24. You need a motion to recommend that the council accept the land.
I make a motion to recommend that we accept this donation.
Do I have a second? Second. Any discussion?
Yeah, I have one question. The phase 1, is that just being careful, or is there any reason to believe there's an environmental impact?
I think they're just being careful. We had that discussion about the Anthony's Way open space donation at the land use, because the council's got it to accept it. So those questions came up. We're asking, are we going to ask everybody? And I think that the answer was to be on the safe side, we should ask everybody. Because that's just a review. It's not, you're not doing any digging, you're just checking the history of the property to see if there's anything that might...
It's appropriate, but sometimes it means there might be a red flag.
I've been through the land.
Not that I know of on this one. I think it's just unofficial town policy that's good to require it.
So, Jose, are this piece of land going to create walking trails within the golf course?
Not within. I think there was an issue about, I think that there was some issue with some members of the public who thought, who were advocating for somehow that there was some kind of promise at one time that the golf course would be used for walking.
Right.
I think the answer to that was, yeah, not while there's golfing going on. It's prohibited because it's from a liability point of view, not least with the golf course. So the issue then came up, what can we do around it? Is there a way of providing a nice, and with some places that might provide some vistas out to the golf course, so we did, like I said, walk it. There's some challenges to going completely around, but I think, going over the dam to Reservoir, the 3 there, you could probably go from that parking lot up the ridge, and then there's the Eversource right away, which is fairly steep, going up to that property. But it does provide some connectivity, and there are some trails. You can see that people have walked, have used that.
So they'll just formalize the trails.
Yeah, even though there's nothing.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Chair votes aye. Anything further, sir?
No, it's not, at some point, it just, if things slow down, there's a bunch of changes, problems with the regulations that just keep cropping up now and then. I mean, maybe we can do a work session one evening if things slow down.
Prepare an agenda, memo?
Yeah. Because, as we talk to people, and there's just there's that one catch-all thing in one of the zones that says any use not here otherwise prohibited. I think we saw that in the zone change application last month. That's very confusing. It really doesn't provide much direction to people. I think we can probably get rid of it because it's sort of arbitrary, and if we ever got called on it, and I think perhaps expanding the type of uses that would. The other thing that's coming up, and obviously are things like our banks. We 8 spaces per 1,000. Have you gone to a bank lately? Nobody goes to the banks anymore. Everybody's online. So I think that's when you had a lot of tellers. So our parking requirements for banks, those type of things need revision. The things that were based on the way things happened in the 60s and 70s, and need urgent care is another one. I've been talking to somebody who's possibly looking to put an urgent care in an existing building. And it's not really medical offices per se. It's not the same thing where you have doctor's offices where people are waiting to be, you might have 4 or 5 people in the waiting rooms, another 4 or 5 people in the exam rooms and all that. So I think we need to treat that as a separate type of use. And I think I've advised the applicant to, if they apply to, and they're a national chain, to bring some studies with respect with the type of parking that they're using. So we'll see some of that, and if we're going to do some changes, might as well clean up some of the other language. And there's some even conflicting sections that one part says this is the setback, the other, if you go back to another section, it says it's another thing. So those type of things that we find out over time need to be cleaned up. Other than that, I'm gone next week, so I'll be taking 1 week off, and then in September I'll be taking 2+ weeks off to go to Spain.
During the patch season, you're going to go to Spain?
I know. You know what kills me? I have tickets to the last Yankee Red Sox game of the season, the last day of the season. And my Yankee fan brother is going to get them. That kills me. I won't be there because it looks like it's going to be a close race all the way. But the fact that I offered him reluctantly to my brother who's a Yankee fan.
Life places heavy burdens on us at all times.
Yes.
Motion to close, to adjourn.
So moved.
Second. Moved and seconded. All in favor? Aye. We're out of here. Just put it on.
Yeah.